Right now, there's a world on this planet larger than every continent and every country combined, and almost no one has ever seen it. It lies beneath the surface of the ocean, in water so deep that sunlight gives up long before it ever reaches the bottom. Down there, the cold never lifts. The pressure grows strong enough to crush steel, and the darkness is older than any forest, any mountain, any city you have ever known. Yet, it is not empty. It is the largest living space on Earth, home to creatures stranger than anything we could have invented. We have mapped the surface of the Moon and Mars in finer detail than the floor of our own ocean. So much of it still waits, quietly, in the dark. Tonight, my friend, you don't need to explore any of it. You only need to drift above it and let it carry you down, slowly, gently, the way a single feather sinks through still water. So let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow. Let your eyes close whenever they are ready. There is nothing to do here, and nowhere you need to be. Just listen. Let the quiet pull you under, into the deep where the science of the ocean turns into a kind of lullaby, one mystery at a time, as the world above fades and the dark below begins, ever so faintly, to glow. In the deep ocean, most of the light is alive. Picture yourself sinking slowly down through the water, past the place where the last of the sunlight fades to a deep blue, then to a faint gray, then to nothing at all. By the time you reach a few hundred meters below the surface, the sun is gone completely, and below that lies a darkness so total it has never once known a sunrise. You might expect this place to be black and still and empty, but it isn't. All around you, the dark is sparkling. Tiny points of blue-green light blink softly on and off. Long glowing threads drift past like living tinsel. Slow pulses of light gloom and fade somewhere far off, like quiet lightning deep inside a cloud. None of this is sunlight reflected, and none of it is a trick of tired eyes. It is light made by living things, by the animals themselves, glowing in the dark. We call it bioluminescence, and in the deep sea it is everywhere. When scientists carefully counted the creatures drifting through these waters, they found that the great majority of them, by some studies, around 3 out of every 4, can make their own light. Sit with that for a moment. In the largest living space on our entire planet, most of the light does not come from the sun. It comes from life. The way they do it is a small piece of quiet chemistry. Inside their bodies, a special molecule reacts gently with oxygen, helped along by a kind of natural spark, and the energy of that reaction is released not as heat, but as light. It is almost perfectly cold light, with barely any warmth to it at all, just a soft, clean glow. A firefly blinking on a summer evening does exactly the same thing. The deep ocean has simply taken that humble little trick and spread it across an entire world, in creature after creature, mile after mile, down into the dark. Most of this living light glows in shades of blue and green, and there's a gentle reason for that. Blue light travels farthest through seawater, slipping easily through the dark where other colors are swallowed up almost at once. So across countless ages, life in the deep slowly learned to speak in blue, the one color the ocean allows to travel. And they use this light for so many different things. Some wear it as a lure. The anglerfish, with its strange little glowing lantern hanging just in front of its mouth, dangles that soft light in the blackness and waits patiently for something curious to wander too close. Others use light to disappear. Far down in the water there is still the faintest trace of daylight falling from far above, and a creature swimming there would cast a dark shadow against that dim glow, easy for a hungry eye below to notice. So some animals glow gently along their bellies, matching the pale light from overhead, erasing their own shadow until they seem to melt into the water itself. Some flash to startle, throwing out a sudden burst of light to dazzle a predator and slip away into the dark. Some glow softly to find one another across the vast black water, calling to a mate they might otherwise never meet. And a few do something almost cunning. When a small creature is seized, it lights up brilliantly, like an alarm ringing out in the night. Not to save itself directly, but to draw an even larger hunter toward the struggle, hoping the thing that grabbed it becomes the next meal. There are even shrimp and small squid that do the opposite of an octopus and its ink. They spew out a glowing cloud into the face of an attacker and vanish behind the light. It is a strange thing to hold in your mind as you lie here. We tend to imagine the deep ocean as a place of pure darkness, cold and silent and lifeless. And in one sense it is. The sun has never reached it and never will. Yet it is not truly dark at all. It is one of the most luminous places on earth, lit softly from within, glowing with the light of countless living things that have never once seen the sun they are so quietly replacing. There is something tender in that. The largest habitat on our whole planet is lit not by a distant star, but by life itself, each tiny creature carrying its own small light through the dark, signaling, hiding, searching, surviving, in a glow it makes from nothing more than chemistry and patience. So let yourself picture it now gently as you drift. A single point of soft blue light blinking once in the blackness, then another far off to the side, then another, and another, until the whole dark sea seems to breathe with quiet light, rising and falling, blooming and fading, a slow, silent constellation, glowing somewhere far below the waves. Every night, the largest movement of life on Earth quietly begins, and almost no one is ever awake to see it. As the sun goes down and the surface of the ocean dims, something stirs far below. From the deep, cold layers of the sea, countless creatures begin to rise. Small fish that glitter like coins, shrimp and tiny shrimp-like animals by the billion, soft drifting jellyfish, squid with great dark eyes. They climb upward through the dark hundreds of meters, some of them more than a kilometer, all of them heading toward the surface under the safe cover of night. And then, before dawn breaks, they all sink back down again into the depths. This happens every single night in every ocean all over the world. It is the largest migration on the entire planet. Not the longest in distance, these animals only travel up and down, but the largest by sheer weight of life on the move. Billions upon billions of bodies rising and falling together every day in the greatest commute the Earth has ever known. For most of history, we had no idea it was happening. We discovered it almost by accident during the war years of the last century, when ships first began using sound to find the bottom of the sea. They would send a pulse of sound downward and listen for the echo bouncing back off the seabed, far below. But the crews kept noticing something puzzling. There seemed to be a second bottom, a faint, ghostly floor hanging in the middle of the water, far above the real seabed. Stranger still, this phantom floor moved. It rose toward the surface as evening came on and sank back down again at dawn. For a while it was a genuine mystery, this false bottom that drifted up and down with the light. In time, the answer became clear, and it was wonderful. The phantom floor was alive. It was made of so many small creatures packed into a single great layer that their bodies bounced the sound back almost like solid ground. Scientists came to call it the deep scattering layer, a living blanket of life, hundreds of meters thick, rising every dusk and falling every dawn. Why would so much of the ocean's life take part in this same slow journey, night after night? The answer comes down to a simple and very old tension, the one between finding food and not becoming food. The richest feeding is near the surface, where sunlight lets tiny plants and plankton flourish. But the surface in daylight is also the most dangerous place to be, brightly lit, where any creature is easy to see and easy to catch. So these animals make a quiet bargain with the dark. They spend the daylight hours hidden deep down in the cold and the black, where hunters can barely find them. Then, when night falls and darkness spreads even across the surface, they rise up to feed where the food is richest, cloaked in the safety of the dark. And before the sun returns to give them away, they slip back down into the deep. Among these nightly travelers are the lanternfish, small and silver and dotted with their own tiny lights, and they are thought to be among the most numerous fish in all the world. Uncountable multitudes, most of them never seen by anyone at all. For a creature so small, the climb is enormous. Rising several hundred meters and sinking back again each night is, for a little lanternfish, a journey of staggering proportion, as though you were to walk many miles every single evening just to find your supper, and many miles home again before the dawn, and then to do the very same thing the next night and the next for the whole of your life. It is a journey made entirely by instinct and ancient rhythm, repeated for longer than there have been humans to wonder at it. No one organizes it, no one leads it, and yet every evening, all across the world's oceans, this enormous tide of living things lifts itself toward the stars and sinks back down again as faithfully as the tides themselves. There is something quietly comforting in knowing this is happening right now, somewhere far away, while you rest. As you lie still in the dark, the sea itself is gently breathing, rising in the night, sinking before the dawn. A vast, slow, living tide moving in the deep, carrying on exactly as it has for millions of years, asking nothing of you at all. So let that image settle over you softly. Out beyond the shore, beneath the dark water, an entire world is rising quietly toward the surface in the night, drifting up through the black, unhurried and unseen, and soon, just as gently, it will sink back down again into the deep, into the quiet, into sleep. If you could sink to the very bottom of the deepest ocean, the water above you would press down with the weight of a small car balanced on every fingertip. It is hard to imagine until you slow it down. As you descend through the sea, the water stacks up above you, and all of that water has weight. For every 10 meters or so that you sink, the pressure grows by about the same amount you already feel from the entire atmosphere above your head at the beach. 10 meters down, and it has doubled. 100 meters, and it is 10 times greater. And in the deepest trench of all, nearly 11 kilometers down, the pressure becomes something close to 1,000 times what you feel right now, lying comfortably in the open air. At those depths, the force is almost beyond picturing. It would crush a submarine built of ordinary steel as if it were a tin can underfoot. It is the kind of pressure that should, by every instinct we have, flatten any living thing into nothing. And yet down there, life carries on, calm and unbothered. In the deep trenches, scientists have filmed small, pale fish drifting along the bottom more than 8 kilometers below the surface, among the deepest fish ever seen by human eyes. They are gentle, almost ghostly creatures with soft, translucent bodies and fins that ripple like delicate scarves. They do not look armored. They do not look like they are bracing against anything. They look like they are floating through the most peaceful place on Earth. Almost no one has ever traveled to where these fish live. Only a tiny handful of people have ever reached the very deepest places of the ocean in person, far fewer than the number who have walked upon the surface of the moon. We send machines down in our place instead. Robots and cameras trailing long tethers into the black, and through their distant eyes we catch brief, flickering glimpses of a world that presses in on every side with unimaginable force, and yet remains somehow soft and quiet and alive. So how do they do it? The first part of the secret is what they don't have. The reason the deep would crush you or me is that our bodies are full of air. Our lungs, our sinuses, the little pockets of gas inside us. Air is easily squeezed, and under that pressure, those spaces would collapse. But these deep-sea fish carry no such air pockets. Their bodies are made almost entirely of water and soft tissue, and water barely compresses at all. With no hollow spaces to crush, the pressure simply presses equally from every side, inside and out, and the creature holds its shape untroubled, perfectly balanced against the weight of the sea. But there is a deeper, more delicate part of the secret, written at the scale of molecules. The tiny machines that keep any living body running, the proteins that build it and power it and repair it, are folded into precise, intricate shapes, and they only work while they hold those shapes. Under immense pressure, those shapes want to crumple and clump and fail. So the creatures of the deep carry small helper molecules in their bodies, gentle chemical companions that surround their proteins and prop them open, holding the right shape steady against the squeeze. The deeper a creature lives, the more of these protective molecules it tends to carry, as if stocking up on quiet reinforcements for the pressure below. There may even be a true floor to how deep a fish can go. Scientists studying these molecules have suggested that somewhere around 8 kilometers down, the body would need so much of this protective chemistry that the limits of its own cells are reached, and beyond that depth, the proteins simply cannot be kept working any longer. It may be one of the reasons no fish have ever been found at the very deepest points of the deepest trenches. A soft, invisible boundary set not by darkness or cold, but by the quiet chemistry of life itself. There is something worth resting on in all of this. We tend to imagine that surviving great force means being hard, rigid, armored, meeting strength with strength. But the deep teaches a gentler lesson. Down there, life survives the crushing weight not by being hard, but by being soft and full of water, by carrying no hollow spaces to be collapsed, by yielding to the pressure equally from every direction until there is nothing left for it to break. It does not fight the deep. It simply lets the deep press in and stays whole. So picture that small pale fish one more time as you let yourself grow heavy and calm. It drifts along the dark floor of the world, fins fanning slowly, in a place where everything we have ever built would be flattened in an instant, and it feels none of it. It is soft and it is full, and it is perfectly at home, moving through the heaviest place on earth as gently as a leaf settling onto still water. At the bottom of the sea, there are gardens that have never seen the sun, and they are flourishing. Not so long ago, this would have sounded impossible. For a long time, scientists imagined the deep sea floor as a kind of cold, muddy desert, a dark and barren plain where almost nothing could live, since nothing green could grow without sunlight to feed it. Then, in the late 1970s, a tiny submarine carrying a few researchers descended into the dark near the Galapagos Islands, expecting to find more of that empty mud. What they found instead changed how we understand life itself. Down there in the freezing dark, the water was shimmering with heat. Hot, mineral-rich water was pouring up out of cracks in the seafloor, rising in trembling, glassy ribbons. And gathered all around these warm springs was an astonishing crowd of life. Great clusters of clams, pale crabs picking their way over the rocks, and strangest of all, tall white tubes standing like a forest of slender chimneys, each one tipped with a soft blood-red plume that swayed gently in the current. Life was not just surviving here, it was thriving in dense, crowded abundance, in a place where there had never been a single ray of sunlight. These warm springs are called hydrothermal vents. They form where seawater seeps down into the cracks of the seafloor and sinks close to the hot rock and magma beneath. There it is heated to scorching temperatures and forced back upward, bursting out of the seabed loaded with dissolved minerals from deep inside the earth. Where those minerals meet the cold water, they darken and settle, sometimes building tall mineral towers and dark, billowing plumes that the explorers came to call black smokers. Chimneys of stone rising from the floor of the world, breathing out the heat of the planet. The heat at these vents is almost beyond belief. The water gushing from some of them is hot enough to melt lead, far past the temperature at which water would normally boil away, and it stays liquid only because the crushing weight of the deep holds it together. Yet just a short distance off, sometimes only a hand's width from that scalding flow, the surrounding sea is barely above freezing, and the creatures of the vent live right there, in that narrow band between the scorching and the frozen, perfectly at ease in a place built from impossible extremes. But the real wonder was not the vents themselves. It was the question they forced us to ask. Everything we thought we knew said that life, all life, ultimately runs on sunlight, that plants catch the sun's energy and turn it into food, and that everything else, in the end, eats the plants or eats the creatures that ate the plants. So how could an entire bustling community be living here in total darkness with no plants and no sun anywhere within reach? The answer was a quiet revolution. Down at the vents, the foundation of life is not sunlight at all, but chemistry. The vent water is rich with chemicals from inside the earth, including a substance that smells, to us, like rotten eggs, and that is poisonous to most living things. But certain bacteria are able to take the energy locked inside those chemicals and use it to build food, in much the way a plant uses sunlight. We call this chemosynthesis, making food from chemistry instead of from light. These bacteria are the true gardeners of the deep, and everything else there depends on them. The tall red-tipped worms reveal just how complete this dependence is. A giant tube worm, standing as tall as a person, has no mouth at all, and no stomach, and no way of eating in any sense we would recognize. Instead, packed inside its body, it carries billions of these chemical-feeding bacteria, sheltering them and supplying them with what they need, while the bacteria, in return, feed the worm from within. The worm is not so much an animal that eats as a living greenhouse, a body built to garden chemistry in the dark. When this discovery settled in, it gently rewrote one of our oldest assumptions. Life and the sun, it turned out, were not inseparable after all. Life needs energy, yes, but that energy can come from the heat and chemistry of a planet just as well as from a star. And that single realization opened a door onto the rest of the universe. If life here can flourish around vents in the lightless deep, then perhaps on some distant icy moon with a hidden ocean beneath its frozen shell, warm vents on a dark seafloor might be quietly nurturing life of their own. We do not know if they do, but the deep ocean taught us, for the first time, that it is even possible to wonder. So let this be the image you carry down into sleep. Far below the waves, in water with no light and no sun and no day, a forest of soft pale worms sways slowly in the warm shimmering current, fed by the heat at the heart of the earth itself. A quiet garden blooming in the dark, tended by nothing but chemistry, asking nothing of the sky. Somewhere in the cold, dark waters near Antarctica swims an animal with eyes bigger than your head. It is called the colossal squid, and it is one of the most mysterious large animals on Earth. Heavier and bulkier than even the more famous giant squid, it lives deep in the icy southern ocean, far from the reach of light. And it is so rarely seen that for most of human history, it lived only in rumor and legend. Sailors told stories of vast tentacled monsters rising from the deep to drag ships under. And somewhere behind those old tales of the kraken swam real creatures like this one. Enormous, soft-bodied, hidden, and almost never glimpsed by human eyes. For a long time, nearly everything we knew about the colossal squid came secondhand. We found the hard beaks of these animals inside the stomachs of sperm whales, which dive into the deep to hunt them, and from those beaks we could guess how large the squid must be. Only a small handful of whole, intact colossal squid have ever been brought up from the depths, and each one has been treated as a precious treasure, studied with care and wonder. We still know remarkably little about how it lives. From the little we can tell, the colossal squid is not a fast and restless hunter, but a slow and patient one, drifting quietly through the cold water, waiting in the dark for prey to come near, rather than chasing anything down. Its long arms and tentacles are lined with sharp, swiveling hooks for holding fast to whatever it catches, set into a great soft body shaped entirely for the deep. But so much of its existence remains hidden from us still, unfolding far below in waters we have barely begun to visit, in a darkness that keeps its secrets well. But of all the strange things about this animal, the most extraordinary is its eyes. They are roughly the size of a dinner plate, close to the size of a soccer ball. The largest eyes known to exist in any animal anywhere, living or extinct. No whale, no fish, no creature of the past that we have ever found comes close. To imagine it, picture an eye so large you could not cover it with both your open hands. Now imagine that eye, dark and glistening, gazing out into the blackness of the deep sea. And this is where a real puzzle begins. An eye that large is enormously costly for a body to grow and to carry. And there is a curious truth about eyes. Past a certain size, simply making an eye bigger does not help much for seeing ordinary things up close. A larger eye is not just a slightly better version of a smaller one. So why would this animal pour so much of itself into eyes so far beyond what any other creature needs? What could possibly be worth seeing? down in the dark that demands an eye the size of a soccer ball. Here, scientists have offered a beautiful idea, and it is important to be honest that it is a leading theory rather than a settled fact. Researchers who study how eyes work in the deep have reasoned it through, and the one thing a giant eye can do far better than a smaller one is to catch very large, very dimmed shapes from a great distance away. And the largest, most dangerous thing in the colossal squid's entire world is the sperm whale that hunts it. When a sperm whale moves through the deep sea, its great body disturbs the tiny glowing plankton drifting in the water, leaving behind a faint, shimmering trail of disturbed light. A truly enormous eye, the theory suggests, might be able to detect that ghostly glow from perhaps 100 meters away, far enough off to give the squid a few precious seconds of warning, a chance to turn and flee into the dark before the whale arrives. If this idea is right, then it carries a strange and quiet poignancy. The largest eyes that have ever existed on this planet may have grown so vast, not in order to find food, and not in order to admire the world, but in order to see death coming, to catch the faintest glimmer of an approaching hunter while there was still time to slip away. An eye shaped across countless generations, almost entirely by fear and by the simple ancient wish to survive one more night. There is something humbling in picturing it. This enormous, gentle-bodied creature, drifting alone through the freezing dark, carrying the greatest eyes life has ever made, forever watching the blackness around it for the smallest hint of light, not out of curiosity, but out of care for its own quiet existence. So let that be the soft image you rest on now. Far down in the cold water near the bottom of the world, a single vast dark eye hangs open in the blackness, calm and unblinking, patient beyond measure, watching the deep gently for the faint glow of something far away and finding tonight only stillness and silence and dark. When a whale dies, its body can quietly give life for 50 years. It begins in stillness. Somewhere in the open ocean, a great whale comes to the end of its long life, and its enormous body slowly begins to sink. Down it drifts, through the sunlit blue, through the dimming twilight, down into the cold and the dark, until at last it comes to rest on the floor of the deep sea. Scientists have a simple, almost gentle name for this: a whale fall. And what unfolds afterward is one of the strangest and most beautiful stories in all of nature. To understand why it matters so much, you have to remember how empty the deep sea floor usually is. Down there in the dark, almost nothing grows, and food is desperately scarce. Most creatures survive on the faint scraps that drift slowly down from the world of light far above. Years can pass between good meals, and then, all at once, into this quiet desert of hunger, an entire whale arrives, tons upon tons of food, settling onto the seabed like a feast dropped from the heavens. For the creatures of the deep, it is an event of almost unimaginable abundance. The first to arrive are the scavengers. Eel-like hagfish slip in to feed, and sleeper sharks, and dense, shimmering swarms of small pale animals a little like shrimp, all gathering to strip the soft flesh from the body. This stage can last for months, even years, as the great carcass is slowly and steadily picked clean, until little remains but the vast pale architecture of the skeleton resting on the dark floor. But the story is far from over. Once the flesh is gone, smaller creatures move into the enriched mud around the bones and the worms settle in. And then comes the strangest chapter of all. A whale's skeleton is heavy with fats and oils soaked deep into the bone, and there are bacteria that can feed on those fats, breaking them down for the energy locked inside, releasing chemicals as they work. Gathered around them, living on those very chemicals, comes a quiet community of creatures that need no sunlight at all, fed by chemistry instead of light, much like the strange life that crowds around the hot vents of the seafloor. This final stage can last for decades, a slow, patient banquet drawn out across a whale's skeleton long after the rest of the world has forgotten it was ever there. And living right on the bones are some of the most astonishing creatures we have ever found, discovered only a couple of decades ago, and so unusual they seemed almost invented. They are small worms, and they have come to be known as bone-eating worms. Like the giant tube worms of the deep vents, they have no mouth, no gut, no stomach of any kind. Instead, they sink soft, root-like tendrils down into the whalebone, almost as if they were tiny trees putting roots into soil. And inside their bodies they carry bacteria that dissolve the fats within the bone and feed them from within. Stranger still, the worms you can see, the ones rooted into the bone, are all female. The males are so small as to be nearly invisible, dozens of them living tucked away inside each single female, an entire hidden generation carried within her. It is worth pausing on what this all means. In the poorest, hungriest, most barren stretch of our whole planet, the death of a single great animal becomes a gift of life so rich that it can feed a whole succession of creatures for half a century. One body becomes a thriving world. The end of one enormous life quietly becomes the beginning of countless small ones. Scavengers and worms and bacteria, generations of them, all rising up from the still, dark gift of a single whale. There is a kind of grace in that, a gentle answer to the sadness of an ending. Nothing here is wasted, and nothing simply disappears. The whale that once sang through the open sea, that once breathed at the bright surface, sinks down into the dark and slowly becomes a foundation, a feast, a home, a long, quiet afterlife written not in memory, but in living bodies that go on feeding and growing for decades in the deep. So let this be the soft picture you carry down towards sleep. Far below, on the dark, still floor of the sea, the pale curving bones of a whale rest in perfect quiet, gently furred with soft red worms and faintly glimmering life. Surrounded by small creatures going calmly about their existence, an entire small world, hushed and unhurried, glooming in the dark from a single, peaceful end. Deep in the ocean, far below the waves, it is always snowing. If you could hang suspended in the dark, somewhere beneath the sunlit surface, and simply watch the water around you, you would see it. A soft, endless drift of pale flakes, falling slowly and silently downward, all around you, in every direction. They turn gently as they fall. They catch what little light there is and glow for a moment, then fade. It looks, for all the world, like a quiet snowfall on a windless winter night, except that it never stops and it never melts. And it has been falling like this for as long as there has been an ocean. Scientists call it marine snow. These soft flakes are not ice, of course. They are made of the tiniest remains of life from the bright world far above. Up near the surface in the sunlit water, life is thick and busy. Tiny drifting plants and animals living, feeding, and dying in countless numbers. And as they die, as they are eaten, as they shed bits of themselves, all of those small fragments begin to sink. Scraps of dead plankton, delicate empty shells, tiny grains, the droppings of small creatures, threads of soft natural mucus. All of it clumps slowly together as it falls, gathering into pale, fragile flakes that drift gently down into the dark. The fall is slow and patient. Some of these flakes take days to reach the deep, and others take weeks, sinking softly through layer after layer of water, down past the last of the light, down toward the cold floor of the sea. The early explorers who first descended into the deep in their small steel diving chambers, peering out through tiny thick windows, described exactly this: a constant, gentle snowfall drifting endlessly through the beams of their lights, falling out of the darkness above and vanishing into the darkness below. The sheer amount of it is difficult to picture. Across the whole of the ocean, this snow falls without pause, day and night, year after year. A steady drift of countless tiny flakes settling slowly toward the deep. And each flake, small as it is, can be a little world of its own. A soft cluster where tiny living things gather and feed, riding it downward like passengers on a slowly sinking raft. Some creatures of the deep simply wait, mouths held open, and let the snow fall gently into them. Others rise up to meet it as it drifts past, gathering in the quiet harvest of the world far above. And here is why it matters so deeply. Down in the deep ocean, almost nothing can make its own food, because there is no sunlight to power the kind of growth that feeds the surface world. So nearly every creature in the dark depends in the end on this slow rain of leftovers falling from above. The marine snow is the food of the deep. It feeds the small drifting animals, which feed larger ones, which feed larger ones still, all the way down. The entire living world of the deep sea, in all its strangeness and abundance, is sustained by this quiet, ceaseless inheritance, gently falling from the bright world it will never see. There is something larger at work here too, something that touches the whole planet. As all this material sinks from the surface into the deep, it carries carbon down with it, carbon that the tiny surface plants once drew out of the air and the water as they grew. When those remains settle into the deep and the dark, that carbon settles with them, and much of it stays locked away down there, far from the sky, for hundreds or even thousands of years. Scientists call this slow, steady process the biological pump, the ocean's own gentle way of breathing in, pulling carbon down out of the world above, and tucking it quietly into the deep. This soft snowfall, flake by flake, is part of what keeps the whole living balance of our planet turning. It is a quiet thing to sit with. This idea that the deep is fed entirely by what falls from above. Everything down there, in the cold and the dark, lives on the gentle remains of the sunlit world, on what the surface has lived and let go of, drifting down through the black water as a kind of soft, slow gift. The bright world and the dark world, the surface and the deep, joined together forever by nothing more than this patient, falling snow. So let that be the last, gentle image of the night. Picture yourself floating, weightless and calm, in still dark water, watching soft, pale flakes drift slowly down all around you, turning, glowing faintly, settling without a single sound. A quiet, endless snowfall in a place that has never known winter, nor morning, nor the end of night. Let it fall softly through your mind, slow and silent and unhurried, as you let yourself drift gently down with it, into the deep, into the dark, into sleep. The most common animal with a backbone anywhere on Earth is a little fish you have almost certainly never heard of. To find it, you would sink down from the bright surface into a layer of the ocean that scientists call the twilight zone. It begins a few hundred meters down below the reach of full daylight, and it stretches onward toward the edge of true darkness. Here the water is not black, not yet, but dim, lit only by the faintest blue glow filtering down from far above, the last trace of the sun, soft as the final minutes of dusk just before the light gives out completely. It is a place of permanent, gentle twilight, neither day nor night, holding steady all year round. There are no seasons here, no dawn and no dusk as we know them, only this endless, even glow, the same in what would be deep summer or deep winter, the same at what would be noon or midnight in the bright world far overhead. And this dim blue layer is one of the most crowded places on the entire planet. Living here, in numbers almost beyond imagining, are small fish, many no longer than your finger, some smaller still, slender and delicate, with rows of tiny lights along their bodies and mouths, bristling with fine, needle-like teeth. One particular kind, plain and unremarkable to look at, is now believed by scientists to be the most numerous backboned animal on Earth. Not the most numerous fish in some single sea, but the most numerous, full stop, out of every creature with a spine that has ever been counted. Their numbers are thought to run not into the millions, nor the billions, but into the hundreds of trillions, perhaps far beyond. There may be more of these single small fish than there are stars in our entire galaxy. They are easy to overlook, these little fish. Most are no longer than a finger, soft-bodied and pale or faintly silvery, fragile enough to fall apart in a net before they ever reach the surface intact. Perhaps that is part of why we came to know them so late. They live where we cannot easily go, and they do not survive the long journey up into our world. So they remained, for the longest time, little more than a quiet rumor in the dark. And though they are small and dim and easily missed, these little fish hold up an astonishing amount of the living world. They are food for the squid and the tuna and the swift hunting fish, food for diving seabirds and for great whales that sweep through the twilight, gathering them by the mouthful. Nearly every large and famous creature of the open ocean depends in the end on this quiet multitude in the half-light. Without these countless small bodies drifting in the dusk, much of the life we picture when we imagine the sea, the leaping dolphins, the circling sharks, the vast and gentle whales, would have nothing at all to eat. The grandest creatures of the ocean are held up, invisibly, by the smallest and most overlooked. The surprises do not end with that one fish. For a long time, scientists tried to weigh all the fish living in this twilight layer of the world's oceans, and they arrived at a certain figure. Then, not so very long ago, a great expedition crossed the seas, listening to the deep with sound, the way these vast layers of life echo back a pulse sent down through the water. And what they heard suggested that the older estimate had been far too low, that the true amount of fish drifting in the ocean's twilight might be 10 times greater than anyone had thought, perhaps something like 10 billion tons of living fish, most of it never seen, never caught, never counted. It is worth saying plainly that this is still an estimate, and scientists are working carefully to refine it. But even the possibility is staggering. A vast, hidden multitude, larger than almost anything else alive, quietly suspended in the dim water between the sunlit surface and the dark. There is a humility in this that settles softly over you. For all our maps and all our knowledge, the deep keeps gently showing us how much we have overlooked, right here on our own planet. not in some distant galaxy, but a few hundred meters beneath the waves we sail across without a thought. The most abundant backboned life on Earth has been there all along, drifting in the blue dusk, asking nothing of us, simply going about its quiet existence in the half-light. So let that be the picture you rest in now. A soft, endless blue twilight, neither bright nor dark, stretching out in every direction. And all through it, suspended in the gentle dimness, countless tiny fish, more than the mind can hold, each one glinting faintly with its own small lights. A vast, calm, uncountable crowd, hanging weightless in the quiet half-light of the deep, drifting, just as you are drifting now, toward the soft and welcome dark. At the bottom of the ocean, there are lakes, with their own shores, their own surfaces, and even soft, slow waves. It sounds as though it cannot be true. How could there be a lake at the bottom of the sea when the sea itself is already water? A lake needs a shore to hold it, and a surface to mark where it ends. And yet, down on certain parts of the deep sea floor, there are pools of water so different from the ocean around them that they refuse to mix, settling into the low places like rainwater gathering in a hollow, with a clear, shimmering boundary you can actually see. A surface beneath the surface, far below the waves. The secret is weight. The water in these strange pools is extraordinarily salty, many times saltier than the ordinary sea. In some places, this heavy brine seeps up from ancient beds of salt buried long ago, when shallow seas dried away and left their salt behind, now slowly dissolving back into the water far below. All that dissolved salt makes the brine dense and heavy, much heavier than the seawater above it. And so, like oil resting on water, the brine sinks and pools and stays separate, gathering into a distinct body of water with a glassy top that ripples and shines when a current passes across it. These hidden lakes are not found everywhere. They gather in particular places, such as parts of the Gulf of Mexico and the deep basins of the Red Sea, wherever the conditions are right for heavy brine to pool and rest. For a long time, no one imagined such things could exist at all, and their discovery felt almost like finding a secret room in a house you thought you knew completely. A whole new kind of place, hidden in plain sight at the bottom of the sea. Explorers who have sent their submersibles down to these pools describe something that looks almost impossibly like a lake on land. There is a clear shoreline where the dense brine meets the ordinary seafloor. There is a surface that catches the lights of the submarine and shimmers gently back. Some of these pools even have soft waves lapping at their edges and pale beaches of fine sediment along their shores. You could, in theory, lower a small boat down to one and watch it float upon the surface of a lake that sits at the very bottom of the sea. But these are not gentle places to swim. The same heavy brine that forms the pool is usually starved of oxygen and often laced with chemicals that are poisonous to most living things. A fish or a crab that wanders down into the pool, drawn perhaps by curiosity, soon finds that it cannot survive there, and many never come back out. In one such pool, researchers found a quiet ring of still bodies gathered around its edge, creatures that had crossed the shoreline into the brine and not returned, held now in the cold, salty water. It is a strange and solemn thing to picture, this little lake that keeps those who enter it. And yet, right along the shores of these pools, where the brine meets the open sea, there is often a band of thriving life. Beds of mussels gather there, and pale tube worms living on the very edge of the deadly water. They survive because the chemicals seeping from the pool feed tiny bacteria, and those bacteria, in turn, feed the mussels and worms, a whole community clustered along the shoreline of a place that would kill almost anything that swam in. Life, settling right at the border between the deadly and the abundant, and making a home there. There is something deeply strange and wonderful in this, a kind of impossibility made real. We tend to think of the ocean as one vast, connected body of water, all of it mixing and moving together. And then the deep shows us a lake within that ocean, a separate, shimmering pool with its own shore, its own surface, its own slow waves, resting quietly on the seabed in the dark. An ocean, it turns out, can hold a smaller ocean inside itself, complete with edges you could stand beside. So let that be the soft image you carry down into sleep. Far below, on the dark floor of the sea, a still and glassy pool rests in the silence, its surface faintly shimmering in the blackness. Mussels gathered quietly along its silent shore. No wind stirs it, no light reaches it. It simply lies there in the deep, a secret lake beneath the waves, calm and patient and undisturbed, while the slow currents drift gently by above. Deep in the dark, a small fish finds a mate many times his size, takes hold of her, and slowly becomes a part of her body. The deep-sea anglerfish is one of the strangest creatures in all the ocean, and the one most people picture is the female. A dark, rounded fish with a wide mouth and long teeth, and a slender stalk rising from her head, tipped with a small glowing lure that she dangles in the blackness to draw her prey near. She is the famous one, the face of the deep, but her story only becomes truly astonishing when you learn about the male and what he does in order to be with her. The male anglerfish in many of these species is tiny, a small fraction of the female's size, sometimes almost absurdly so, as though he belonged to an entirely different scale of creature. And he faces a problem that is hard to imagine from the surface world, where life is crowded and company is everywhere. The deep ocean is enormous and almost empty. A male anglerfish might swim through the cold dark for the whole of his life and never once cross paths with a female. In a place so vast and so thinly populated, simply finding a mate is a challenge that can decide whether his kind continues at all. And so, over long ages, evolution arrived at one of the most extraordinary solutions in the whole of the natural world. When a male at last finds a female in the dark, guided, it seems, by her scent and her light drifting through the black water, he does not court her, and he does not stay only for a while. He bites onto her body, and he holds on, and he never lets go. And then something almost unbelievable begins to unfold. His mouth and her skin start to fuse together. Their tissues merge, their blood vessels join and connect until the two of them share a single bloodstream, and the male begins to draw all his nourishment directly from her body. He no longer needs to feed himself, and so, slowly, he simply lets much of himself fade away. His eyes are no longer needed, and they wither. His fins, his organs, nearly everything that once made him a separate swimming fish gently dissolves until he becomes little more than a small attachment fused to her side, kept alive by her blood, there to give her the means to make young when the time finally comes. Some females have been found carrying several of these tiny mates joined to their bodies at once. When the first of these fused pairs were hauled up from the deep, long ago, the naturalists who found them were thoroughly puzzled. They saw the large females, each with a small, shriveled creature clinging to her side. And at first they took these little attachments for some kind of parasite, or perhaps the female's own young. It took time and many more specimens before anyone understood the truth that the small clinging thing was no parasite at all, but the male himself, the other half of the species, dissolved into his mate. For a long while, the most baffling part of all this was a quiet biological mystery. In nearly any animal you can think of, the body fiercely rejects the tissue of another individual fused onto it. It is the very reason a transplanted organ must be so carefully matched, and why the body must be gently persuaded not to attack it. The immune system is built to know what belongs and what does not, and to destroy what does not. So how could two whole anglerfish merge their bodies completely, blood and flesh, without the female's defenses tearing the intruder apart? Not so long ago, scientists studying these fish uncovered a remarkable clue. It appears that anglerfish have given up key parts of the immune system, the very parts that, in other animals, would recognize and reject another's tissue. In trading those defenses away, they made it possible for two bodies to become, in the most literal sense, one. It is a recent and still unfolding discovery, and there is a great deal we do not yet understand about how they stay healthy, having let so much of that protection go. It is a strange thing to sit with, and yet there is a kind of tenderness hidden inside it, my friend. In the loneliest, emptiest place a creature could be born into, where you might drift forever and never find another soul, evolution found a way to make sure that once two of them met, they would never again have to be apart. Joined together, carried together, two separate lives become a single body, drifting through the dark as one. So let that be the soft image you rest on now. Somewhere in the black water, a small soft glow drifts slowly through the dark, swaying gently as the female moves. And there, along her side, the quiet shape of her mate, joined to her now, the two of them held close together, gliding without hurry through the deep, never again alone. In a place lit by living light, some creatures have learned to vanish completely. The deep sea is not as dark as you might think. All through it, living things make their own glow, soft sparks and slow pulses of cold blue light. And some hunters down there carry light the way we carry a flashlight, casting a faint glow ahead of them to search the black water for anything that might reflect it back. The gleam of a scale, the shine of an eye, the silhouette of a meal. In such a world, where a single beam of light can give you away, the most precious skill of all is to be unseeable, to soak up the light that touches you, and to give nothing at all back. And some deep-sea fish have perfected this to an astonishing degree. They are among the blackest things found anywhere on Earth. Their skin absorbs more than 99% of all the light that lands upon it. In some of them, more than 99 9/10%, very nearly every last particle of light, swallowed whole. They reflect almost nothing. Shine a light directly on one of these fish, and instead of seeing a fish, you would see a kind of hole in the water, a patch of pure, flat darkness where something plainly is, and yet nothing can be made out at all. They are so black that they seem less like a creature and more like an absence, a small piece of the void itself drifting through the sea. The way they do this is beautifully simple. Their skin is packed with tiny grains of dark pigment, arranged in a fine layer just so that any light entering does not bounce straight back out. Instead, it is caught, and set ricocheting among those tiny grains, deeper and deeper, scattering again and again until its energy is entirely absorbed and there is nothing left to escape. The light goes in, and it simply does not come out. It is the very same principle behind the darkest materials we have ever managed to engineer in our laboratories. And these small fish arrived at it long before us, quietly, in the dark. But there is another way to disappear down there, gentler still, and it is woven into the very color of the water. Sunlight, as it sinks through the sea, loses its colors one by one. Red light is the first to go, soaked up within the upper stretch of water near the surface, so that by the time you descend into the deep, there is no red light left at all, only blue. And here is the lovely consequence. A creature that is colored bright red has no red light down there to reflect, because none ever reaches it. With no red light to bounce off its body, a red animal in the deep simply looks black, melting into the darkness as surely as if it were trying to hide. This is the quiet reason so many deep-sea creatures, shrimp and fish and drifting jellyfish, are colored in deep, glowing shades of red. In a world without red light, to be red is to be invisible. And nature, ever inventive, found a way to turn even this into a kind of secret advantage. A few deep-sea hunters have done something remarkable. They produce their own red light, a private beam of a color that almost nothing else in the deep can see. Most creatures down there have no eyes for red, since red is meaningless in a place that has none of it. But these few hunters can both make red light and see by it. So they move through the dark, switching on a searchlight that their red-colored prey cannot detect, gently lighting up the very animals that believe themselves perfectly hidden, as though slipping on a pair of night vision goggles that no one else even knows exist, and watching the invisible quietly appear. There is something quietly profound in all of this. In the deep, to be seen is so often to be eaten. And so life has poured its long patience into the art of disappearing, into becoming a shadow, a hole, a stretch of empty dark. A creature's whole survival can rest not on speed or strength or teeth, but simply on the gift of being overlooked, of being there and yet unseen, of passing through a world of light while giving none of itself away. So let that be the soft image you settle into now. A fish the deep color of dark wine hangs motionless in black water, perfectly still, and you cannot quite tell where it ends and the darkness begins. It reflects nothing. It gives nothing away. It is fully present and yet entirely unseen, a quiet, peaceful absence, drifting in the deep, asking only to be left alone in the dark. In the cold and the dark, certain small creatures grow to sizes that seem almost impossible. On land, there is a little gray creature you have surely seen, the woodlouse, the small armored bug that trundles along beneath damp stones and curls into a ball when you touch it, no bigger than a fingernail. Now picture one the size of a small cat. Down on the floor of the deep sea, there lives a creature very much like that humble woodlouse, but grown to the size of a football, pale and plated and armored, scuttling slowly across the dark seabed on rows of fine, delicate legs. It is a real animal, and to see one is to feel as though something ordinary from the garden has wandered into a dream and swelled to a giant's size. It is not alone in its strangeness. In the cold waters off the coast of Japan, there lives a crab whose legs stretched from tip to tip can span wider than a tall person lying down. The greatest leg span of any creature of its kind on Earth. a long-limbed giant picking its way across the deep like something out of an old story. There are worms in the deep that grow taller than a person, and squid that reach enormous size, and even the tiny shrimp-like creatures that hop about in the wet sand of the shore have giant cousins in the deep, blown up to startling proportions. Again and again, in the cold dark of the deep ocean, animals that stay small near the surface turn up in sizes far beyond what we would ever expect. Scientists have a name for this curious pattern. They call it deep-sea gigantism. Why should the cold, dark, food-poor deep be a place that grows giants? It is one of those questions where it is only honest to say that we are not entirely sure, and that several different explanations are offered, each of which may hold a part of the truth. So let me share them gently, as ideas rather than as settled answers. One thought is about the cold itself. In cold water, many creatures grow more slowly but live far longer, and a body that keeps growing slowly across a very long life can in the end reach a great size. Cold seems to stretch out the years, and the years become inches. Another thought is about the breadth of the sea. Cold water can hold more dissolved oxygen than warm water, and some scientists believe this richer supply of oxygen allows certain creatures, especially those that breathe through the surface of their bodies, to grow larger than they otherwise could. A third idea is about hunger. In the deep, food is rare and arrives unpredictably, with long, lean stretches in between, and a larger body can store more reserves, go longer without a meal, and outlast the hungry times. So being big may simply be a way of surviving scarcity, of carrying enough within yourself to wait. And running beneath all of these is the slow, unhurried pace of the deep, where life moves gently and there is little reason to rush, and growth can quietly continue year after patient year. These ideas overlap and weave together, and scientists still debate which matters most. And it may well be that the answer is different for different creatures. But there is something in the pattern itself that lingers in the mind. We tend to imagine that cold and darkness and scarcity would shrink a living thing, would starve it small, and yet here, in the coldest, darkest, hungriest reaches of the sea, those very conditions seem instead to grow giants. It is as though the deep, in its stillness and its slowness, offers some of its creatures the one thing the busy surface never can: an abundance of time. And given enough time, a small thing can become very large indeed. There is a kind of calm in that thought, a gentle reminder that slowness is not the same as smallness, and that patience carries a quiet power of its own. The giants of the deep are not fierce, and they are not fast. They are unhurried. They have simply lived slowly and steadily in the cold and the dark, and let the long years gather into size. So let that be the soft image you drift toward now. A great pale creature, armored and gentle, picks its slow way across the dark floor of the sea on rows of fine, delicate legs. It is in no hurry at all. There is nowhere it needs to be, and nothing it needs to chase. It simply moves, slowly and peacefully, through the cold and the quiet, an enormous and patient thing in the dark, carried gently along by all the time in the world. Somewhere in the cold deep, right now, swims a shark that may have been alive for 500 years. It is called the Greenland shark, and it moves through the frigid, dark waters of the far north, the deep cold seas around the Arctic, with a slowness that is hard to fathom. It is a large animal, and a patient one, gliding through near-freezing water at a pace so gentle it seems barely to move at all. And it grows just as slowly. A Greenland shark may add only a single centimeter to its length in an entire year. Inch by inch, across decade after decade, it grows in the cold and the dark, in no apparent hurry to become whatever it will one day be. For a long time, no one knew quite how old these sharks could get. Then scientists found a way to read their age, hidden in a quiet part of the eye. At the very center of the shark's eye lens lies tissue that forms before the animal is even born and never changes again for the rest of its life. A tiny, perfect record of the shark's very beginning, carried with it always. By studying that ancient tissue, researchers could estimate how long ago each shark had first come into the world. And the answer astonished them. These sharks, they found, may live for 200 years, 300, perhaps as much as 500. The very oldest among them may have been swimming the cold, dark sea for close to 5 centuries, alive in the water before Galileo ever lifted a telescope to the night sky, alive while the world above changed beyond all recognition. Generation after human generation rising and passing while the shark simply went on slowly through the deep. Stranger still, a Greenland shark does not even become an adult, able to have young of its own, until it is something like 150 years old. Imagine that, a century and a half just to finish growing up, a whole human lifetime, several times over, spent simply reaching the beginning of adulthood in the long, slow patience of the cold. Everything about the Greenland shark speaks of slowness. It drifts rather than darts, moving through the freezing water at a gentle, conserving pace, in no hurry to catch anything or to be anywhere at all. Many of them carry tiny creatures attached to their eyes and may be nearly blind, feeling their way through a world they can barely see. And still they endure, century after century, gliding quietly through the cold and the dark, asking very little, lasting almost beyond belief. And the shark is far from alone in its astonishing age. The cold, dark, still depths of the ocean turn out to be full of life that lives on a scale of time we can scarcely hold in our minds. Far down on the deep seafloor grow black corals, branching slowly upward like delicate dark trees, and some of these have been found to be more than 4,000 years old. Already ancient when the Great Pyramids were being raised, and still, even now, quietly growing. There are clams in the deep that live for centuries, and pale glass sponges that may be among the longest-lived animals of all, possibly persisting for thousands of years in the cold and the quiet, though their true ages are difficult to measure and remain uncertain. Why should the deep be a place of such long lives? The answer seems to lie in its stillness. In the cold, dark, unchanging depths, everything slows down. Bodies run at a gentle, unhurried pace. Growth is slow. The rush and burn of life that we know up in the warm, bright, busy world simply eases away. And with that slowness, it seems, can come an almost unimaginable length of life. Cold and stillness stretch out time, and a creature living within them can stretch its own existence across the centuries. There is something that quiets the heart in this. Down there, in the dark, a single life can reach across the whole span of what we call history, across all the years we think of as long ago. And yet to the creature living it, none of it is history at all. There are no centuries, no eras, no sense of vast time passing. There is only the cold water and the slow movement through it, and the long, untroubled present, stretching gently on and on. So let that be the soft image you carry down into sleep. An old shark moves slowly through the black water of the far north, unhurried, patient beyond all measure, gliding through the cold as it has done quietly for centuries. It is in no hurry to arrive anywhere. It has all the time there is, and it simply moves slowly and peacefully through the deep and the dark and the silence, carried along, as you are now, by the gentle, unhurried, ancient clock of the deep. Far below the light, the loudest animal on earth is hunting in total darkness. It is the sperm whale, one of the greatest hunters the world has ever known, and it spends much of its life doing something that seems almost impossible. It dives down from the bright surface where it breathes, down past the fading light, down into the cold and the black, sometimes 1,000 meters deep, sometimes far more than that, into a darkness where its eyes are nearly useless to hunt prey it cannot see. And it does this on a single breath, holding that breath for 45 minutes, an hour, sometimes longer still, before rising slowly back to the surface to breathe again. Down there in the blackness, the sperm whale finds its food not with its eyes, but with sound. Inside its enormous square head, the largest nose in all the world, though it looks nothing like one, the whale produces clicks. Sharp, powerful pulses of sound sent out into the dark, and then it listens. When a click strikes something, a fish, a squid, the soft body of its prey, a faint echo returns, and from that echo the whale builds a picture of a world it cannot see. It is painting the darkness with sound, sketching out the shapes around it from echoes, finding its way through the deep the way you might feel your way across a dark room with your hands. And these clicks are not gentle. They are, in fact, the loudest sounds made by any creature on Earth. A sperm whale's click can reach a power that would be utterly deafening to us, louder than almost anything in the natural world. Sounds so intense, it is hard even to compare it to the noises of our own lives. Some scientists have wondered whether the whale might use bursts of this tremendous sound to stun or startle its prey, though this remains an unproven idea, still debated. What is certain is that the whale moves through the lightless deep, guided almost entirely by sound, calling and listening, hunting in a world we would find perfectly, hopelessly dark. The whale's body is built for this descent in ways our own never could be. As it dives, its lungs gently collapse down to almost nothing, so that little air remains to be crushed by the growing pressure. Its heartbeat slows, and its blood draws inward toward the most vital parts of its body, guarding the precious oxygen it carries. Much of that oxygen is held not in its lungs at all, but stored within its muscles and its blood, like a diver carrying a hidden reserve of breath. And in that great head it carries the largest brain of any creature that has ever lived, guiding it calmly through the dark. Among the prey it seeks are squid, including the great deep-sea squid that grow to enormous size in the cold and the black. And so, somewhere far below, in absolute darkness, two of the deep's most remarkable creatures meet: the diving whale and the giant squid, in encounters almost no human has ever witnessed, known to us mostly from the marks the squid leave behind on the whale's skin, and from the beaks of squid found within the whales themselves. A meeting in the dark, a mile beneath the waves, in a silence broken only by the whale's steady clicks. There is something awe-filled in picturing it. This vast, warm-blooded animal, a creature that breathes air just as you do, plunges willingly into the coldest, darkest, most crushing reaches of the sea, holds its single breath for the better part of an hour and hunts there, calmly and expertly, in a place that would end us in moments. It carries its own way of seeing. Not light at all, but sound, a sense that needs no sun and no glow, only the patience to listen for what comes back. And then, its hunt finished, the great whale turns and begins to rise. Slowly, unhurriedly, it climbs back up through the dark, up through the deepening blue, up toward the distant, shimmering ceiling of the surface, where at last it breaks into the air and breathes, a long, misty breath beneath the open sky, before after a time it folds itself downward and slips back into the deep once more. So let that be the soft image you rest on now. Far below, in the cold and quiet dark, a great whale moves slowly and surely through the blackness, listening, calling gently into the deep and hearing the soft echoes return. At home in a darkness that holds no fear for it, gliding through the deep on a single held breath, perfectly calm, perfectly at peace. Beneath the floor of the sea, down inside the solid rock of the planet itself, there is life. We tend to think of the seafloor as the bottom, the final boundary, the floor of the world, below which there is only dead stone going down and down. But it is not the bottom of life. Drill down into the soft sediment beneath the seabed, and then deeper still into the hard rock below, and you find that living things are there too. Tiny, simple microbes, single cells, dwelling within the pores and the cracks of the rock, kilometers beneath the ocean floor, in heat and pressure and total darkness, where it seems nothing could possibly survive. And yet there they are, alive, deep inside the earth. This hidden world has a quiet name among scientists, the deep biosphere. And the more we learn of it, the more astonishing it becomes. By some estimates, the total amount of life buried down there, inside the rock and the sediment beneath the sea and the land, may rival or even exceed all the life living up here on the surface. All the forests and grasslands, all the animals and people, all the fish in the sea. An entire living world hidden inside the planet, possibly as vast as the one we know, and almost entirely out of our sight. It is worth saying plainly that these are estimates, still being studied and refined. But even the possibility reshapes how we picture our own world. The earth may not be a dead stone wrapped in a thin film of life. It may be alive far deeper down than we ever imagined, and the question of how they make their living is its own quiet wonder. With no sunlight and almost no food drifting down to reach them, many of these buried cells seem to feed on the rock itself, or rather, on the faint chemical energy that arises wherever water and stones slowly react in the dark. They draw their living from the planet's own minerals, from hydrogen and iron and sulfur, sipping energy out of bare rock in a way that needs no sun, no plants, no surface world at all. They are, in the most literal sense, creatures of the stone, woven quietly into the body of the earth. And the way these buried microbes live is perhaps the strangest part of all. Down there is almost no energy to be had, no sunlight, of course, and very little food, only the faintest trickle of chemical energy seeping slowly through the rock. So life slows down to a degree that is hard even to comprehend. Up here, a single tiny cell might divide into two in a matter of minutes or hours. Down there, in the deep rock, some of these cells may divide only once in hundreds of years. Some perhaps only once in many thousands. A single cell, living so slowly that whole human centuries pass between one division and the next. They are barely ticking over, sipping the smallest amount of energy, more like a slow, patient smolder than the busy fire of life we know. It stretches the very meaning of the word alive. These cells are not growing, not really, not in any way we would recognize. They are not racing to reproduce or hurrying to feed. They are simply persisting, holding on, keeping the faint ember of life aglow across spans of time so long that, to them, the whole rise and fall of everything up here on the surface would pass in less than the blink of an eye, if they could notice it at all. Generations of forests, of creatures, of entire civilizations, coming and going in the bright world above, while a single cell in the dark rock below quietly waits to divide just once. There is a deep stillness in this thought, almost a kind of peace. We imagine life as motion, as hurry, as growth and striving. And here, far beneath the floor of the sea, is life as the very opposite of all that. Life as patience, as endurance, as the gentlest possible persistence in the dark. Not striving for anything, not rushing anywhere, simply being, slowly, for ages beyond counting. So let that be the soft image you drift toward now. Deep beneath the dark floor of the ocean, down inside the warm, silent rock of the earth, a single tiny cell rests in a pocket of stone, alive, unhurried, untroubled, holding gently to its faint spark of life. No light has ever reached it. No sound has ever disturbed it. It simply waits in the deep, warm dark, as patient as the rock around it, while far above it the whole living world turns and turns, and the cell rests quietly on, deep inside the heart of the world. There's a layer of the ocean where a single sound can travel for thousands of miles. Sound behaves strangely in the sea. It moves far better through water than through air, and as it travels down through the ocean, its speed slowly changes, shaped by the cold, by the pressure, by the depth. And there's a certain layer, deep down, where these forces combine in just the right way to create something remarkable. A kind of channel, a hidden corridor within the water that catches sound and carries it. A sound that enters this layer does not spread out and fade away as it normally would. Instead, it is gently bent back inward whenever it begins to stray, kept gathered within the channel, so that it can travel on and on, across an entire ocean sometimes, with very little of it lost along the way. We discovered this corridor in the middle of the last century, and it astonished those who found it. A small sound set off within this layer on one side of an ocean could be heard faintly by listening instruments thousands of miles away on the far side. The sea, it turned out, held a secret highway for sound, a passage through which a whisper in one part of the world might quietly reach another, carried gently through the deep. To grasp how far that is, picture a sound made off one coast and heard, faintly but clearly, on the shore of another continent. A single soft signal crossing the whole width of an ocean. People once thought of using this hidden channel as a way to send messages across the sea, and as a way to listen for distant events, since so little of the sound is lost on its long journey through the deep. A noise that would vanish within moments at the surface can, within this quiet corridor, travel on for hour after hour, crossing thousands of miles of dark water before it finally fades away. And this raises a beautiful possibility. The great whales, the largest of them, the blue whales and the fin whales, sing in voices pitched very low, deep rumbling calls far below the lowest notes we can easily hear. These low sounds are exactly the kind that travel best and farthest through the deep. And so some scientists have wondered whether these whales might use the ocean's hidden corridor to call to one another across enormous distances. Whether a whale singing in one stretch of sea might be heard by another, far over the curve of the world. We cannot say for certain that they do this on purpose, or just how far their voices truly carry, and it remains a question still being explored. But the possibility alone is enough to stir something in you. A whale, alone in the vast dark water, lowering its voice into the deep, and that voice slipping into the hidden channel and traveling on, gently, for hundreds upon hundreds of miles, perhaps to reach another whale listening somewhere far away. Think of how that changes the very feeling of the ocean. We picture the sea as a thing that separates, vast, trackless, isolating, each creature alone in its own small patch of water. And yet running through it, deep down, is this quiet corridor that connects, that carries voices across impossible distances, that might let a single low song reach clear across a sea. The ocean is not only something that divides the world, it is also, in its depths, something that joins it, threading sound from one far place to another, through the dark. It is a little like the way an old great cathedral can carry a whisper along a curved stone wall to a listener far across the room, a whispering gallery, where sound travels farther than it has any right to. The ocean has its own whispering gallery, immensely larger, running deep through the sea, where the softest low call can travel for 1,000 miles or more, gently, patiently, through the cold and the dark. There is something comforting in that, a quiet kind of reassurance. Even in the largest, loneliest, darkest space on Earth, a voice can still reach out across the emptiness and perhaps be heard. Distance is not quite as final as it seems. Somewhere out there in the deep, even now, a sound is traveling, slow, soft, unhurried, carried gently along its hidden path through the heart of the sea. So let that be the soft image you settle into now. Far below, in the dark and the stillness, a low and gentle sound moves quietly through the deep, neither rising nor fading, simply traveling on and on through its hidden corridor. A soft voice slipping through the vast dark sea, reaching out across the miles, carried gently onward, while above it the whole ocean lies calm and quiet beneath the stars. Somewhere in the wide Pacific, a single whale has been singing for decades in a voice unlike any other. It began as a mystery picked up by listening instruments far out in the ocean. Among all the calls of the great whales drifting through the deep, there was one that simply did not fit. Most large whales sing in deep, low voices, pitched within a certain range that their own kind share and answer. But this one voice called at a noticeably higher pitch, a note set apart from all the others, in a register that no other whale seemed to use. Year after year, the same strange call was heard, moving slowly through the northern Pacific, following its own long and solitary path across the sea. People came to call it the loneliest whale in the world. The idea took hold that here was a creature singing forever at the wrong pitch, calling out, season after season, in a voice that none of its own kind could recognize or answer, wandering the ocean alone and unheard. It is a story that touches something deep in us, and it spread far and wide, and many people have felt a quiet ache for this single voice singing alone in the vast dark water. For more than 30 years now, this single voice has been followed across the sea. Through changing seasons and changing years, the listening instruments have caught it again and again, charting its slow, wandering path through the northern Pacific. never quite settling, never quite still. People have grown so taken with the idea of it that some have even set out on voyages to try to find it, hoping to glimpse the creature behind the famous song, to put a shape at last to the voice that has drifted so long through the deep, and yet it has never been seen. It has only ever been heard, a sound without a face, a song without a singer we have ever laid eyes upon, moving quietly somewhere out in the vast water. But it is worth being gentle and honest about what we actually know, because the truth is softer and far more uncertain than the legend. We do not really know what this whale is. Some scientists think it may be a hybrid, the offspring of two different kinds of great whale, carrying a voice that blends them into something altogether new. Others think it may simply be an unusual individual, one whale built a little differently, singing in its own particular way. We do not even know for certain that it is truly alone, or that other whales cannot hear it. Its higher call might reach them perfectly well, and they might understand it more than the story supposes. And over the years, those listening have noticed that the voice has slowly deepened, drifting lower as time has passed, much as a young creature's voice might settle as it grows older. Each of these is a possibility rather than a settled fact. The honest truth is that this whale remains, even now, a genuine mystery, swimming somewhere far out in the deep. And perhaps that is the most moving thing of all. Not the sad story we wrapped around it, but the simple, real wonder of it. Out there in the enormous ocean, there is a living creature whose voice we have heard for decades and whose nature we still do not fully understand. We have tracked its path across the sea, listened to its song through long years, and grown almost fond of it, this single distant voice, and still it keeps its secret. It goes on singing its own song in its own voice somewhere in the deep, asking nothing of us and explaining nothing, simply being itself, out in the dark water beneath the open sky. There is room in that for something other than sadness. To sing in a voice all your own, a little different from everyone else's, is not only a kind of loneliness, it may also be a kind of wonder, a song that belongs to no one but you, carried out across the wide sea, heard by who knows what, traveling on through the deep regardless. The whale does not know that it has been called lonely. It knows only the cold water and the long miles and its own quiet voice rising into the dark. So let that be the soft image you rest on now, my friend. Far out in the wide dark ocean, beneath a sky full of stars, a single great whale moves slowly through the deep, singing softly to itself as it goes, an unhurried, gentle song in a voice all its own, drifting out across the endless water, traveling on into the night, neither sad nor lost, simply alone with the sea and the dark and its own quiet music. The largest waterfall on earth is one you will never see, because it lies hidden beneath the sea. We picture waterfalls as things of the bright world above, water tumbling over a cliff, catching the light, roaring down into a pool below. The greatest of them, the ones we travel far to stand before, are wonders of the land, and yet not one of them comes close to the largest waterfall on our whole planet, because that one is entirely underwater, falling silently in the cold dark of the deep, where no one has ever stood to watch it. It lies in the far north, in the stretch of sea between Greenland and Iceland. There, the water tells a hidden story. Cold, heavy water from the icy seas to the north flows southward, and when it reaches a great ridge rising from the seafloor, It pours over the edge and sinks down into the deeper water beyond. A vast, slow cascade of cold water falling through the sea, dropping far, far further than any waterfall on land, and carrying an almost unimaginable volume of water with it as it goes. A waterfall within the ocean, immense and silent, tumbling endlessly in the dark, and almost no one ever knows that it is there. It is hard to take in the scale of it. The drop of this underwater fall is far greater than that of the tallest waterfall you could find on any continent, many times higher than the famous cascades we cross the world to stand before. And the amount of water moving over it is greater than that of all the rivers on the surface of the earth flowing together at once. If you could somehow stand beside it in the dark and watch, you would see no white spray and hear no thunder. Only the slow, silent, ceaseless sliding of cold water down into the deep, a fall so vast and so gentle that it would be almost impossible to believe you were looking at the greatest waterfall on the whole of the planet. How can water fall through water? The secret is weight, and it comes down to cold and salt. Cold water is heavier than warm water, and saltier water is heavier than fresher water. When water is both very cold and very salty, it becomes denser than the sea around it, and so it sinks, sliding downward beneath the lighter water, flowing along the bottom and spilling over ridges and slopes the way a river finds its way downhill. All through the deep ocean, this is quietly happening. Dense cold water sinking and creeping along the sea floor, lighter warm water rising above it in a slow and ceaseless overturning of the whole sea. And these hidden flows do something extraordinary. They drive a vast, slow circulation that connects all the oceans of the world. Cold, dense water sinks near the frozen poles and then creeps along the deep sea floor, spreading outward across the globe, traveling for thousands of miles through the cold and the dark before, somewhere far away and long after, it slowly rises again toward the surface. The whole journey, from sinking to rising and back again, is so vast and so slow that a single round of it can take something close to 1,000 years. A drop of water sinking into the deep today might not feel the sun again for 1,000 years, surfacing in some far corner of the world long after we are gone. There are even rivers down there, in their own way, currents of dense water that flow along the seafloor with banks and bends and winding channels, much as a river winds across the land, hidden beneath all that water, carving their slow and patient paths through the deep. It is a strange and humbling thing to hold in your mind. The ocean, which looks from above like a single still sheet of water, is alive with movement in its depths, with waterfalls greater than any on land, with rivers running along its floor, with a slow global current turning over across 1,000 years. All of it silent, all of it unseen, a whole hidden landscape of falling and flowing water deep beneath the calm surface we sail across without a thought. So let that be the soft image you drift toward now. Far below, in the cold, dark sea, a vast and silent waterfall pours gently over an unseen ridge, its cold water sinking slowly into the deep, falling without sound, without end, in the blackness. There is no roar, no spray, no light, only the quiet, endless sinking of cold water through the dark, slow and patient and calm, deep beneath the sleeping surface of the sea. On the floor of the deep ocean lies ice that burns. It sounds like something out of a story, ice and fire being opposites after all. And yet, buried in the cold sediments of the deep sea floor, there is a kind of ice that, if you brought it up and held a flame near it, would catch and burn with a soft flame, even as the ice itself melted and dripped away in your hand. It is real, and there is a great deal of it, resting quietly in the dark and the cold at the bottom of the sea. The secret is in what the ice is made of. It is mostly ordinary frozen water, but trapped inside it, locked within tiny cages formed by the ice itself, is methane, the same gas that burns gently on a kitchen stove. Down in the deep, where the water hovers near freezing and the pressure is immense, the methane and the water lock together into this strange frozen substance, holding the gas captive within the ice. The methane comes from the slow work of tiny microbes in the seabed, patiently breaking down the remains of long-dead living things over the ages, and from deeper sources within the earth. As that gas rises into the cold, high-pressure sediments near the seafloor, it freezes into this curious icy form and waits there, sometimes for a very long time. And there is an astonishing amount of it, buried in the seafloor around the world, and in the frozen ground of the far north. These stores of icy, trapped methane may hold more of this kind of carbon than all the world's coal and oil and gas combined. Vast reserves of frozen fire, locked away in the cold dark, holding their breath beneath the sea. When you picture the deep seafloor, you might imagine only soft mud and bare rock. But in many places, just beneath that surface, lies this hidden ice, glittering faintly, cradling its trapped flame in the cold. In some places on the seafloor, you can even see hints of it at work. Where the icy deposits meet the warmer water at the very edge of where they can hold together, streams of methane bubbles rise gently from the seabed, drifting upward through the dark like slow strings of silver beads. And around these quiet seeps, strange little communities of life sometimes gather. Pale clams and tube worms and soft mats of bacteria, living off the chemistry leaking from the frozen ground below, much as life clusters around the warm vents elsewhere in the deep. Even here in this cold and curious place, the deep finds a way to be alive. Scientists have long wondered about these reserves and what they might mean. There is an idea, and it is important to say plainly that it is a theory, still uncertain and debated, that in the distant past, some of this frozen methane may have melted and escaped into the sea and the air rather suddenly, and that the released gas might have played a part in episodes of rapid change in the Earth's climate long ago. Whether this truly happened and how large a part it played is something researchers are still working to understand. It remains a question, not a settled answer. But it is a gentle reminder of how much can be held quietly in the cold and the dark. How the deep keeps not only creatures and currents, but reserves of energy and possibility resting in its sediments, mostly undisturbed. For the most part, this ice that burns simply lies there, patient and still, deep beneath the waves. It does not roar and it does not glow. It waits in the cold sediment in perfect silence, a strange and beautiful thing, holding fire frozen inside frost in one of the quietest places on Earth. There's something almost gentle about it, a flame asleep, wrapped in ice, resting in the dark at the bottom of the sea. It stirs a quiet wonder. To think of it, fire and ice, the two things we imagine most opposed, folded together into a single calm substance, lying still in the cold deep. The world is stranger and more surprising than our simple pictures of it, and the deep ocean is forever reminding us so, holding such impossible things so quietly in its dark. So let that be the soft image you settle into now, Far below, in the cold and silent sediment of the deep sea floor, the ice that burns rests undisturbed, its tiny trapped flames frozen and sleeping in the dark. Nothing moves, nothing stirs. It simply lies there in the deep, calm and patient and still, keeping its quiet fire safe in the cold, as the dark water rests heavy and peaceful above it. Life on Earth may have begun in the dark, at the bottom of the sea. It is one of the oldest questions we have ever asked. Where did life come from? How did the first living thing arise, long ago, on a young and lifeless Earth? We do not know the full answer, and it may be that we never know it with certainty. But some of the most thoughtful ideas point not to a sunlit pool or a warm shore, but downward into the deep, dark sea, to a quiet place on the ocean floor where warm rock meets cold water. In the year 2000, explorers far out in the middle of the Atlantic found something unexpected on the seafloor. A field of pale, ghostly towers, rising like the spires of a drowned city, glowing softly white in the lights of their submarine. They named it the Lost City. Unlike the scalding black chimneys found at some places in the deep, these towers were gentler. They breathed out warm water, not scorching. Water made strange and rich by a slow reaction taking place deep within the rock below. Some of these towers stand taller than a building of many stories, pale and delicate, built up grain by grain over tens of thousands of years from the minerals carried in the venting water. They have been quietly growing in the dark of the mid-ocean for far longer than there have been cities of our own. Slender white spires in a place no sunlight has ever touched, warmed gently from within. For this is the quiet marvel of such places, where seawater seeps down and meets a certain kind of rock from deep within the earth. The rock and the water react together, slowly over long ages. And that reaction, all on its own with no life involved at all, gives off warmth and releases hydrogen, and even forms small, simple building blocks of the very chemistry that living things are made from. The rock itself, simply by meeting the sea, begins to breathe out the faint beginnings of the molecules of life. It happens without any creature present, without any spark of life to start it. Just stone and water and time. And here's the idea that has drawn so many scientists to gaze into those pale towers. They wonder whether a place like this, warm, sheltered, rich in hydrogen and simple chemistry, with gentle threads of energy running through the porous rock, might have been the cradle where life first began. Whether, in some such quiet vent on the floor of the young ocean, the very first stirrings of life took hold billions of years ago in the warm dark, far from any sun. It is important to be honest that this is a leading idea and not a settled fact. There are other thoughts about where life may have begun, and the question is very much still open, still studied, still debated. We do not know that life started here, but it is one of the most carefully considered possibilities we have, and it points us gently downward into the deep. Sit with what that would mean if it were so. It would mean that everything alive, every tree and bird and fish, every creature that has ever walked or swum or flown, and you lying here now, breathing softly in the dark, would trace its very beginning to a quiet vent on the floor of the sea. That the deep ocean is not some alien place apart from us, but perhaps the very place we came from. That our oldest ancestor of all may have been a faint flicker of chemistry in the warm dark of the deep, where rock and water met and something new and living first began to stir. There is a deep and gentle wonder in that thought. We look up at the stars and feel how far we have come and how small we are beneath that vast sky. And perhaps we might look down too into the dark water and feel how far we have come from there as well. From the quiet deep, from the warm rock in the cold sea, from a soft beginning in the dark at the bottom of the world. The deep ocean may be, in the truest sense, our first home. So let that be the soft image you carry down into sleep. Far below, on the floor of the sea, the pale towers of a hidden field rise gently in the dark, warm water shimmering softly from within them, the slow chemistry of the rock breathing quietly into the deep, just as it has for billions of years. It asks nothing. It hurries nowhere. It simply rests there in the warm dark, the quiet cradle of the world, glowing faintly in the blackness, while you drift gently all the way down towards sleep. And so we come softly to the end of our journey through the deep. If you are still awake, still drifting somewhere between the waking world and sleep, there is no need to rise just yet. Another quiet journey is always waiting for you, whenever you would like one. Another hour of gentle wonder to carry you down into rest. You need only let it begin and let yourself drift along with it, back into the dark and the calm. But if your eyes have grown heavy and the deep has done its gentle work, then simply let go now. Let the ocean fade. Let the towers and the whales and the soft blue light dissolve quietly into the dark, and let yourself sink slowly and peacefully into sleep. Rest well, my friend. Thank you for drifting with me through the deep tonight, and wherever your dreams may carry you, in the quiet dark, may they be gentle ones, sweet dreams among the stars.